you know, if we study about the history of Tibetan tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, it is considered the last stage of Indian Buddhism. So Buddhism spread to Tibet in 7th century, and it stopped in the 12th century after Muslim invasion. So actually the reason why for Tibetan traditions, especially Tibetan canon, it includes the Mahayana and the Theravada. But they specialize in the tantric tradition. Tantric tradition. Yeah.
What is that tantric tradition?
Tantra, this means Tantra. You know Tantra? They design the mantra. Let's call it Tantra. What do you call it? It's traditional Tantra. Instead of doing meditation, they design the mantra. Let me show you one more time. Here, this is the Tianti. Okay, have you seen the Tibetan monk here? Okay, not yet. Only you, right? Okay, yeah, and
I think in Epcot they have like an entire section. I believe it's China, and they have like a room you go into, and they have the chanting and everything.
where is that?
I think it's Epcot because I've heard it before.
Where is that?
Disney World.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you go around the world.
You mean that
It's in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah.
New York?
They have like China and France.
Orlando?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, that's nice.
It's really cool.
I
Yeah.
have,
And it looks that they have like I mean, like they build it, like when you go to China in Epcot, it looks,
real?
I mean, yeah, it looks real, and they have people dressed up, and they're actually from those places.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let me show you this one too. Okay. Here. This. You know what they're doing?
Dancing?
Huh? You know what they're doing?
What?
Kung Fu? No. Debating.
They're debating.
Debating.
Yes. That's the way they debate.
It's like a philosophical debate.
Yes. Yeah, they make the move and so forth, not Kung Fu. Yeah.
Good guess.
It's actually they followed the Indian traditions. Actually, when they went to India in 1998 and 1999, I went to seek the teaching from a high lama, high monk, high Tibetan monks. So this is the old style, the classical style. That's the monk. The teacher sits on high platform, or let's say he sits on this table, and you're supposed to sit on the floor. That's the old style. And of course, they do this kind of debate. In our tradition, we don't have that, but they still keep that kind of tradition.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So the person on the ground and the person standing there debating a topic?
and then they can alternate.
They can
change
alternate?
position.
So like the person who's standing is speaking their point of view, and then when it's the other person's turn, they switch?
Yeah, probably. I don't know much, but probably that's the way. When you go to India, you see them. You see them. You can witness that kind of debate. Yeah. Okay, so that's the way they keep the tradition, and and they all do all kind of this. I show you the Tibetan mandala, right? And even the Tibetan monks, they do the dancing too. You not seen that yet? Okay, probably I will try to find some video clips about them how to. It's not for the normal performance, but the spiritual dances, right? According to Tibetan tradition. Boys, no, we cannot do that. Okay, so let's us move back here. Okay, so let's see. More. You have anything to say about these traditions?
Yes, it was just basically what Mackenzie said, and some of the things that you said, how it started in the 7th century, and they started translating to the Pika.
Yes.
They started translating from, and they gathered information from India and from the Mahayans,
Yeah.
and the Indian commentaries, and what they were trying to do, they were getting every kind of information they could to translate it in order to get the Tripika. And I think their goal was in Tibet. I think what they were trying to do was they was trying to reconstruct or revise the canons of what was written in India. They were trying to make it where it could be for all of mankind,
Okay.
you know, to be understood. So I think they did some revising, did they not?
Yeah.
They revised.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened in most traditions. Sometimes they add more text, sometimes they subtract out. But especially in the Tibetan tradition, sometimes it's the king. They organize what you call the translation work, and to push out all the, like I said, the fake one. So this is normal in that tradition. But this is a lot to learn too.
And it had like you was talking about philosophy,
Yeah.
and they had philosophy. I mean, it wasn't just, you know, like Buddha had some kind of metaphysic teaching.
When you talk about evidence, you see more.
Okay.
All right. So again, this is two. One is very important. Tanju, as has been the word attributed to the Buddha, or Tanju, this means the common English. This is the original. Yes.
Who authored all of these canons? Like, was it based off Buddha's teachings, or?
Yes. So remember, again, the Buddha didn't appoint anyone to take over his point, right? Because of what? Attachment to power, right? So, but he said that the Buddhist people need to follow his Dharma and guidelines and take them as their teachers, right? And so, again, there's no authorities. No one appoint them to do this and that, except their dedication. So, throughout 1,000 years, they compile and compare. In the sense that throughout through the oral traditions, and nowadays they have translated this kind of agama into English, Vietnamese, or many languages. And when they compare the teaching of these two sets, almost similar. There's not much different. But in the past, let me show you. In the past, for 1,000 years, both traditions, Mahayana and Theravada, has been separate. Let me see. Okay, here. Can you see? The red one. Here, the red one is the country that follow Theravada traditions, like Burma, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Laos, right here, right? And the yellow one is the Mahayana, and the this color, Porch, okay, that's the country like Mongolia, Tibet, and so forth. They follow Tibetan tradition, the tantric tradition. So for 1,000 years, because of the geography difficulties, there's not much traffic, traffic between these two regions. You know, in the past, it's been hard to travel around. It's different from nowadays, right?
Yeah.
You have airplane, train, and so forth. But in the past, they travel by foot, by boats, and so forth.
They had a lot of mountains.
Yeah, and the reason why it's separate, these two traditions, for 1,000 years. But up to now, when we make combination between these two candidates, it's almost similar. There's some variation, but not much. So, of course, all the things, but that's why somehow how people recognize they are so authentic. That's they are the of course nowadays many scholars, many Buddhist scholars, they have done all kind of researches, and that's why they recognize this kind of canyons. This is more authentic for people to study if they want to. But for the Tibetan canyon and Chinese canyons, somehow because this is so there's so many of them, there's so many texts, and they now try to translate a little bit, but not much yet, and like not all complete yet, like the Pali one. So even us, if we want to do more research about the Chinese or Tibetan canyons, we could not have much time, we could not have much resources to do like the Pali one.
So it's just too many.
I told you at the beginning, 1,000. So, like we go to the library, if you want to study psychology, pick up some books related to psychology or sociology, pick up them. You cannot bring all books from the library to study at once. You have to know the subject that you study. Like meditation, right? You go to the library, pick up the book that relates to meditation. So there's this kind of books. If you study about Buddhist history, yeah, pick up the part of that kind of history, not all. Yeah.
Who approves the
Translation
yeah,
or compilation.
yes, who approves it? The one
Like
person.
her question, no one approved that. But this is based upon the wisdom of the Buddhist communities, because we don't have any pope to have that kind of authority. Oh, this is the authentic, this is not authentic one. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. So if one is like not truthful, you put them out or what?
Yeah. In the past, especially in China, you know, many Taoist monks, because of their jealousy, so they wrote some books that they poke the idea, and they claim that this Buddhist book, so that they want to confuse the Buddhist people to bring them to Taoism. So of course, it's easy to recognize, especially if you're a scholar. It's easy to recognize which one is fake one. So let's say it is study math, right? And you're supposed to know some. Or it's chemistry, you're supposed to know some formulas, right? And if someone put some kind of weird formulas, you recognize on the spot if you're expert. It's a common sense. So again, there's no central authorities. No one can approve with their authority except the wisdom of communities. That's why it feels slow up to now. It's very hard for you to understand, right? Imagine, right? But let's work for 1,000 years, right? Yeah, it's just based on common sense. Okay? Yeah. Okay, let's just move on. And the next one, Vinaya, Nick is here.
Nick's not here.
Is here. Aaron. Oh yeah. What do you have then?
The Vinaya Pitaka was part of the Tipitaka.
Yes.
It was like the laying down of rules for the lay community for the monks and nuns.
Yes.
And it had several parts, which it was supposed to be just basically how the Sangha would, like the rules for the interaction of the Sangha and what. And the first 4 rules were the cardinal rules, which were like if you violated them, you could be cast out of the monastery.
Yeah.
And they were that you couldn't have sexual intercourse, although, or you couldn't steal, kill, or make false spiritual claims. And there are all kinds of nuances and different translations and exceptions and different translations of the Tipitaka. But principally, it's...
Yeah. Remember I told you that's 4 main, the 4 major precepts for the monks and nuns. And the difference is only the minor one, dependent upon the location, dependent upon the country that they live and practice. It's just common sense. But of course, let's say if you visit Japan, you've been in Japan before?
No, I'm going when I graduate.
Oh really? Are you going to teach over there?
Yeah.
Oh good. And don't be surprised. And because you see many monks, they call themselves monks, but they marry. Why? You know, in the early 19th century, there's a Shinto emperor. I forgot his name. He, of course, he promotes, you know, Shinto, right? And he tried to, can say that, reduce the influence of Buddhism in the court. And he announced us, okay, from now on, if you are Buddhist monks now, you're welcome to get married and consume meat. You're free now. So of course, some of them jump into that scam.
So what country was this?
Japan.
Japan, okay.
And of course, this happened here and there before, but because of that kind of permission, so Japanese monks and nuns, they got married from that time on. And now, up to now, it's about few percent of Japanese monks and nuns who remain in the authentic tradition, who remain as what we call celibacy, right? Yes.
So could that king, was it a king? The
Emperor,
emperor?
the Japanese emperor.
So did he go against the Buddhist teaching?
You can say that because it promotes Shinto, you know Shinto, right? And he tried to reduce the influence of Buddhism to the court, because throughout many centuries, Buddhism has great influence on the Japanese court. So the reason why he made that kind of rules and permissions, and that's somehow destroyed Buddhism nowadays.
What century was that in?
I think in early 19th century or
Okay.
late 18th century. And plus, when you visit some Tibetan center, unless the Buddhist monks who follow Dalai Lama set, the yellow set, otherwise you see a different set. The monks and nuns, they get married too. That is why in Tibet they respect the Dalai Lama set more than others.
Okay, so in Tibet they do not marry.
Basically, there's 4 main schools, but the only school that follow strictly the Vinayas.
Okay.
The rules of the discipline is they set up a school of Dalai Lama, the yellow hat school.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen those hats.
Yeah,
Okay.
yellow hat.
Yeah.
So this is general information for you. So don't be surprised, right? And if that's why they have the problem in Japan nowadays. in many Japanese monastery temples, because the temple belong to what they call the family business. The fathers pass the what do you call the ownership of the temple to the son, and then that's just like the family business. So don't be surprised when you go there. Okay. All right. So again, that's just common. The form common one, and the other one is the minor because of the differences in the geographical differences. And the way how we wear the robes, right? You see that? Sometimes we wear the orange, sometimes we wear the yellow, or even now, even this one is, can say, is Chinese style. The other one, the one that I showed you last time, right? That's the Thai style. Yeah. We'll talk more about that one. Okay, who does this one too? Okay, on the Aaron, that's all you have?
It's pretty much, it was, there was the other rules, it was the layout, it would just go, it would be a story with the Buddha telling about how the rule came about, the situation, and why the rule is beneficial. And then sometimes there would be the statement of the rule, and then sometimes it'd also be like subsequent stories of different interpretations of the rule almost, and different. And it was all the different sections of the different rules of different circumstances, and that was also playing into the different translations of each set had different numbers of rules.
Remember I told you last time, right? 12 years after his enlightenment, right? He established the rules based upon the mistake of the monks, because he accepted everyone into the sangha, right? From every class, right? From high class to the lower one. So the reason why, especially the one, let's say, who are uneducated, untrained, right? They mess up. And so the reason why the Buddha established that kind of rules. For example, so the Buddha allowed them to have their hut, to build their hut in the forest so that they could sit in meditation. So some monks, they use the axe to cut down the trees. And this has been complained by the lay people. So from that time on, the Buddha established the rules. Okay, when you cut down the tree, you have to ask permission from the owners or wherever. And even us too, at our monastery. Of course, trees belong to our properties. But before we cut the trees, we need to put the signs to invite the spirit to get out the trees. It's stressful for you.
Say it again.
Okay.
What you got to do?
Okay, let me put this way for you. Okay, now, this belief is based upon the belief too. Remember, we talked about the six parts of the birth, right? Six parts of the birth, right? We have heaven, we have human, we have animals, hell, ghost, and fighting war. Okay, right? Six parts, right? Right? Visible and invisible. Visible is mean human and animals, right? So, if we believe that, it's let's say we have this human body. Our soul, our spirit is designed in this body. How about the spirit? Our Buddhist views. Let's say they live in the form of wolves, and they don't have body to live, so they may reside in the tree, for example. Understand that? So the reason why before we cut down the trees, we need to put aside to invite them to find a different place.
Oh, okay.
Make sense to you now? So we don't cut trees for fun, unless it's necessary. Of course, we cherish the what do you call environment. What do you call the word of environment? Protect environment.
Protection,
Uh,
protecting the environment.
what's that? Eco. What is
Ecosystem,
Ecosystem.
ecology.
ecology there? But that's the belief there. Anyway, so again, yes. Okay, so you understand that. So that's our respect. That's all. For me, that's just our respect for the spirit. Not much with the superstition. Okay. All right. So yeah. Okay. So let's us move on. The next one is sutta or sutra. Ashley, Miss Ashley, what do you have there?
The Sutta Pitaka is otherwise known as the Basket of Discourses, and it's the most well-known section of the Theravada canon. It contains 30 volumes of sutras, and is the largest of the 3 collections of texts that make up the Tipitaka.
Yeah.
And the discourses usually start with "Thus I have heard," which is a statement that is associated with the Buddha's disciples' recitation of his teachings.
Yeah.
And there are a wide variety of questions answered by the Buddha in the Sutta Pitaka, but there were still many worthwhile questions that were not addressed. And the Buddha would not answer questions relating to the age and extent of the universe, the relationship between the body and the life force within it, and the Buddha's existence after death. And so there's a famous story about a monk who threatened to leave the Sangha if the Buddha did not answer those 3 questions. And the Buddha smiled and said that the man was similar to a man who had been shot with a poisoned arrow and refused any medical treatment until he knew many details, including who had shot the arrow, what type of bullet was used in the arrow. And the Buddha turned this into a lesson for his followers, that we should not waste our time and energy speculating on things that truly don't matter, and instead focus on what actually causes our suffering and how we can end it. And there's one more cool fact about this. Monks and nuns also memorize 423 verses of the Dhammapada, which I guess is a part of the Pitaka, in verse form. And verse 183 has become one of the most well-known verses because it summarizes the Buddha's teachings quite nicely. It says, avoiding every bad deed, cultivating what is beneficial, purifying one's own mind. This is the instruction of the Buddhists.
Yeah. This is the famous one. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's what. For hatred, there is not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred cease by love. These eternal rules. It's simple. There's some, like you said, there's many, not all, but many Buddhist monks and then memorize this, but not all. But usually I quote this kind of sutra to teach the lay people. It's much easier to understand than other long one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just deals with the conduct, person's conduct, how to behave.
Yeah, and how to deal with people too. Let's see. Okay, right here. Okay, now. This is Pali Sutta. The first one is Digha or Nikaya, long discourse. It's pretty long, many chapters. And this is the middle one, middle land, and this connect discourse. See that? It's small. Can you read the number?
7,762.
And this one is
9,500.
but it's short. Yeah, it's short. It's all kind of sutra. And this is short discourse. And this is Jataka. That's his birth story. That when he talk about any subject, for example, compassion. So sometimes he relate to his past life stories that may have connection with the person he talk about.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the Buddha.
Yeah, Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what called the birth story. And Tega is the verses of Arhat, or the monk who achieved arhatship. The monk, that means holy monk. And plus this one is for holy nun. The one who have achieved that type of state of mind, nirvana state of mind, nun too. Not a monk, but nun. So that, that's their own verses. This is, they spoke their own verses, not the Buddha. After the enlightenment. Right? And some story, ghost story here. This is story. and some story of the Deva. Deva is mean heavenly beings, celestial beings. This is more than 1200, and there's other sutra too. Anyway, so all kind of sutra, all kind of subject. And sometimes the Buddha is, remember when we talk about the daily activity of the Buddha is early in the morning, Deva or celestial beings came down to seek the teaching from him. That's what this talk about the too.
So if you have a problem with something, all you do is turn into one of those pages.
You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a lot. And this is only party only. This is only party, not talking about the sacred one. The huge one. Like this one. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on then.
Yeah, it looks real, and they have people dressed up, and they're actually from those places.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let me show you this one too. Okay. Here. This. You know what they're doing?
Dancing?
Huh? You know what they're doing?
What?
Kung Fu.
Kung Fu? No. Debating.
They're debating?
Dating.
Yes. That's the way they debate.
It's like a philosophical debate?
Yes. Yeah, they make them. You know, if we study about the history of Tibetan tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, it is considered the last stage of Indian Buddhism. So Buddhism spread to Tibet in 7th century, and it stopped in the 12th century after Muslim invasion. So actually the reason why for Tibetan traditions, especially Tibetan canon, it includes the Mahayana and the Theravada. But they specialize in the tantric tradition. Not yet? Only you, right? Okay. Yeah, and
I think in Epcot they have like an entire section. I believe it's China, and they have like a room you go into, and they have the chanting and everything.
where is that?
I think it's Epcot because I've heard it before.
Where is that?
Disney World.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you go around the world.
You mean that
It's in Florida.
In Florida?
Yeah.
New York?
They have like China and France.
Orlando?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, that's nice.
It's really cool.
I
Yeah.
have,
And it looks that they have like I mean, like they build it, like when you go to China in Epcot, it looks,
real?
I mean,
Tantric tradition. Yeah.
What is that tradition?
Tantra, this means Tantra. You know Tantra? They design the mantra. Let's call it Tantra. What do you call it? It's traditional Tantra. Instead of doing meditation, they design the mantra. Let me show you one more time. Yeah, this is the chanting. Okay, have you seen the Tibetan monk here? Okay.